Hey folks, welcome back. Good to have you. We're out in the garden today. We're going to do some picking. We got some of our peppers ready to go. They're going gangbusters out here. And we're all out of Cowboy candy in the root cellar. So we need to make some of that. So if you're interested in that, come on along. We're going to get her done. So out here in the garden, we got our big long row of peppers here. These first 6 plants here are rainbow bell peppers, all different colors, yellow, red, green, all that. And then our next 6 plants are habaneros, these ones with the different looking leaves. So you can see this crop here. The good news is with the habaneros is we're starting to see some yellow or orange peppers down in here. I don't know if you can see them. That's great news. Means we're going to get some habaneros ripe this year. And then our next plants down here are mixed in. These are jalapeños, and then we've got some more rainbow bells down there that we had extra, and then I think there's 1 or 2 jalapeños thrown in there too. So jalapeños are what we're after today. We've got some bell peppers and jalapeños in the freeze dryer right now that we can show you a little bit later. They're almost done. But let's get these jalapeños picked, and then we'll get inside and start making this Cowboy candy. We're going to make it a little bit different than we have in the past. Well, look at our giant basket of peppers. Look how big these peppers are too. Look at that in my hand. 1 jalapeno. Been a beautiful year for jalapenos apparently. But we're being real selective. We left all the little ones on the plants. Kelly has already picked a round of these the other day, which is in the freeze dryer now. And we've got another 1 or 2 rounds left in here. We are going to need some when we do our habanero hot sauce. If you remember, we toned down our habanero hot sauce with jalapenos. That's going to sound weird to some of you. But we're going to make Cowboy candy. We're going to go Cowboy candy crazy today. We've actually got some good tomato weather today, which I'm pleased with, even though it was foggy this morning in August. But I can see some of our tomatoes are starting to turn color. There's some orange ones out there. So we got high hopes that we're going to still get a good tomato crop. So let's get inside and get on this Cowboy candy. Now we got right at a peck of peppers. Do you know what a peck is? Remember the old rhyme? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck is about 2 dry U.S. gallons. 2 pecks is called a kenning, which is no longer used anymore. You'd never hear that equivalent anymore. And 4 pecks is a bushel. So if you didn't know that, now you do. So we've started processing our jalapenos. We've got them all washed. We're currently cutting the tops off of them. I need to take a break though because we just had some peppers come out of the freeze dryer. Here's the jalapenos that went through the freeze dryer. What I'm going to do with this portion that Kelly took all the seeds and membranes out of is I'm going to put them in the blender and make a jalapeno powder that I can use to season stuff with, give a little heat, a little spice to. But we're going to blend it up in here in the blender, but I'm not going to open the blender in here and pour it in our jar. We'll have to go outside and do that. Make sure we stay upwind from it, because probably if that powder got up in your nose, you'd have a heck of a time. Okay, we're able to get that whole tray of freeze-dried jalapenos in that one blender jar. I left one out. I'm going to give it a little taste. Here we go. Kelly thinks I'm crazy. Not super hot. It's got the jalapeno flavor, but no real heat in that. So That's going to make a really good powder, really good flavor. All right, I think that's going to get it. There's our jalapeno powder. We got a whole pint jar of it, so we can use it to season stuff. Now those jalapenos that Kelly freeze dried, she saved all the seeds from those, and she always saves the pepper seeds for the chickens because it has some health benefits for the chickens. The chickens don't have the receptors, I guess, to feel the heat when they're eating stuff like that. And the pepper seeds help with their digestive issues. They can keep them from getting worms or other types of bacteria. The seeds also contain lots of carotenoids, which help your egg yolks, makes your egg yolks really nice and healthy. And there's lots of vitamin C for the chickens in those seeds as well. So we're going to get back on our jalapenos here. We've got our whole crazy bowl full of jalapenos. So I'm going to start slicing these, or I'm not going to grind them like I did last time we made the Cowboy candy, because we just got too many and it takes so long to grind them. So we're just going to slice them and then we'll weigh them out. We're going to use our big cooker here that we use when we're processing big batches of stuff from the garden. Got all of our peppers sliced, so now we're weighing them out. We need 1.5 pounds for each recipe. So 1 pound, 8 ounces, that's 1.5 pounds. We need to see how many of those we have so we know how much ingredients to add to the mix when we do them all in this pot. Okay, we got everything measured out. We ended up with 7 recipes. So looking at our Cowboy candy recipe here, you can imagine how much ingredients. 7 recipes, 21 cups of sugar. We'll figure that out to where we're not having to measure individual cups, but not as much as the other stuff. The sugar is the main thing. But we'll get all this measured out times 7, and we'll get it all in the pot. Our 8-cup measuring cup's making short work of all of our measurements. We've got our 21 cups of sugar in there. I know that seems excessive, but it is called Cowboy candy, and there's a lot of sugar in candy. So we were short 1 cup of white sugar, so we just added a cup of brown sugar, which will be fine. Everything's better with a little brown sugar. So now we're going to do 10.5 cups of our apple cider vinegar. You can see our vinegar washed most of our sugar down into the mix. Once we stir it up, it'll all be down in there. So each recipe calls for 3 teaspoons of crushed red pepper, and there's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So 3 times 7 is 21. So that would be equal out to 7 tablespoons of crushed red pepper. So the next thing the recipe calls for is turmeric, 1.5 or 1.5 teaspoons of turmeric per recipe, which is half of the last ingredient we did. So the last ingredient was 7 tablespoons. This will be 3.5 tablespoons of turmeric. And then the same 3.5 tablespoons of ground ginger, which would be 1.5 teaspoons for every 1.5 pounds of peppers. All right, got all of our ingredients in finally. We're going to turn this thing up on high to get it rolling, and we'll get this stirred up, get everything incorporated in. Got everything stirred in. You can see our liquid there just below the surface. Now, I'm going to warn you ahead of time, these peppers are going to cook down, and decrease in volume when they get softer. And when you're done canning, you're going to have a lot of this syrup left over. Now, if you think kind of like the way I do with how much syrup you're going to have left over, you're thinking next time, well, we'll just cut down on the amount of syrup. But don't do that. I learned the hard way. When you mess with the ratio, if you decrease the amount of liquid and stuff that you put in these jalapenos, you're going to come out with a lot hotter product. So stay with the right ratios, and that syrup does not go to waste. It's fantastic if you can the syrup as well when you're done and save it. You can use it for other things down the road. It's really good if you add a little bit to like potato salad. In fact, you could add Cowboy candy to the potato salad. It's really good too. You can use that syrup as like a hot sauce. Strain it out, strain all the seeds out of it, and bottle it. You got to shake it up every now and then because it will settle out a little bit. Or what is really good, take strips of beef and marinate beef jerky in that syrup and then smoke it. Makes a fantastic beef jerky as well, or chicken jerky, whatever you want to make. You can use that liquid to like cook chicken or something like that. You could use it as a base. It's fantastic stuff, so don't think it's all going to go to waste when we have that leftover syrup. Keep your mixture stirred up as it cooks, because these big cookers heat more on the side than they do on the bottom. So your jalapenos next to the side of the cooker are going to cook first. And that's what's good about these cookers, so you're not burning everything. It's kind of indirect heat. Just keep them stirred. Another thing you can add into your Cowboy candy is onions, if you really like onions. I usually use about 1 whole onion for every recipe, and you would just chop that up in about the same size pieces as the jalapeno rings, or if you grind it, just grind it all together. But it's pretty good. Alright, we've been simmering away. You can see we're all about the same color now. The peppers have softened up quite a bit, cooked down from when we started. So I think we're just about ready to go get some jars, get them cleaned up. I'm guessing we're going to need about 16 pints. What's your guess, Kelly?
16 pints.
16? You're guessing 16 too?
Sure.
We can't have the same guess. Alright, we got our big canner in the house so we can knock all this out in one go round. I've got the stove set up. I rearranged the cooktop so we can use the big middle burner on our big canner. I've got 18 jars in here, so hopefully this will all fit in 18 jars. I think we'll be well within that. So as soon as our canner gets heated up, we'll start jarring this stuff up, and we only have to water bath it for 10 minutes for pints. Okay, we've started filling our jars. We use our scoop and strain ladle here, so we get mostly jalapenos in the jar, and then I use this little doodad here to make sure that we're not loosely packed in the jar, and then I use the ladle to bring our fluid up in the jar, and then I use our chopstick here. I go all the way down in the jar, break loose any air bubbles that are in there, and then I'm wanting to come just up to the bottom of the funnel where we're at right now, and we'll wipe the top of that jar, put a lid on it, and throw it in the canner. Little helpful hint, tuck your funnel up underneath the edge of your pot so you're not dripping down all over the place. And then the other thing is we have all our jars in here. Everything's at the right height that we want to can at. So as you pull a jar out, leave the water in the jar, dump the water out in the sink because you're putting a full jar back in there, and then that will maintain your water level in the pot. Alright, I was way off on the count. We ended up with 9 pints. So this is going to be boiling here in a second. And we'll start our 10-minute timer. And then we ended up with 1.5 gallons of our juice, or syrup, from that. And I've got some cool ideas with this, some new ideas. I'm going to let it cool and see what the thickness of it is. If it's thin enough, I want to do some pickled eggs in this. And then I also want to cook some down and make some pepper jelly with it that would really be good on a cracker with some cream cheese. Be fantastic. And then we can always do some beef jerky and stuff with it too. Now Kelly said I can no longer do jalapenos when she's home. I about ran her out of the house. Okay, our canning time is done. I just turned the fire off. We'll let some steam come out of here, let this cool down, and we'll pull our jars out. Kelly's putting another batch in the freeze dryer with some cucumbers and some more cabbage out of the garden. Alright folks, got everything out. This is what 10.5 pounds of jalapenos turns into here. 9 pints. So roughly almost a pound a jar, somewhere in there. And then we have our syrup that we're going to use later. But there's our Cowboy candy. Sweet as can be. People cannot get enough of this stuff, but I'm going to have to hold on to this because 9 jars doesn't go very far when you're giving this stuff away. So probably keep most of this in the root cellar. So hope you enjoyed our little jalapeno trip today. Kelly's still got the freeze dryer going. We're doing big things here on the homestead here in the last part of summer. Getting things all ready to go for winter. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us here at the farm.